Hey everyone, welcome back to the Walk to Wealth podcast. If you're tuning in on YouTube or any of the podcast directories, make sure to do yourself one teeny tiny little favor and make sure to give us a follow because I don't want you to miss out on any of the amazing guests I got coming out this year. Without further ado, let's get right into this one. I have a returning guest here. If you guys been keeping up with the podcast, you guys would have heard his story, how he got to this country, how he started his business, and all the ups and downs. And today, we're going to be catching up. It's been 6 months since we last caught up. And so for you guys listening, it'll be a little bit longer. But it's been a while since I had him on the show. So recently, the show that we were both on called The Blocks has aired. And now it's live and available for you guys to all watch. And so I was reaching out to people that I had back on from The Blocks and like, hey, now that the show is out, want to come back on and catch up? And so that's what we're doing here today. So, Heine, for anyone who hasn't had the opportunity to get to know you or get to hear our last episode we did together, let's just give us your quick elevator pitch. Who are you and what do you do?
Yes, my name is Heine Nzumafo. I'm the founder of QSlot. QSlot is a flexible scheduling solution to reduce no-shows and increase revenue. I am also a pastor. I'm also a husband and a father. So
Amazing.
that's who
And
I
so,
am. An
and so
agile coach as well.
yeah, and so hey, we kind of got into your backstory, how you got here, how you ended up, if I'm not mistaken, you went to the army, if I'm not mistaken, and then from there got into starting your first business, ended up losing a lot of money on there. It didn't work out, had to figure some things out, and then ended up going into now QSlot, which is your next big endeavor. Last time you were on the show, and we talked, QSlot wasn't even out yet. You were still working through a lot of the things, and people, if I'm not mistaken, no one had access to it yet. Last time we were on, I mean, I'm sure a couple people had, aside from like developers and stuff like that, but no one. It wasn't really available to the public at all yet. And so, I guess fill us in, like what has taken place over the last 6 months since we last caught up.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure catching up. You are an amazing young man doing amazing things.
Thank you.
And like I said the last time, if I knew what you knew at your age, I'd probably be a lot further along my journey. But since the last time we spoke, I have joined a startup accelerator, a pre-seed accelerator uh, called the Founders Institute. It's the same accelerator that Udemy went through before they got funded. And
Wow.
that took a great chunk of my time. It was 14 intense weeks, 100 founders started, and 21 completed.
Wow.
That's how grueling it was. But it helped me build the model, dive deeper into really what we are offering, who we are targeting, and how we are entering the market. So that slowed things down a bit. I actually had to put a pause on the engagement side, on the growth side, to to implement all the ideas I got from the startup accelerator. But we are plugged in. I can say I have some amazing mentors that I have made through this program, and now we are ready to go. QSlot is available for pre-registration. That wasn't the case before, and we are doing a very closed beta testing
Yeah.
as we speak. So we are on track. A little bit behind because the 14 weeks of engagement of this program just slowed down development completely.
Yeah.
But we are on track to have an awesome, awesome product.
Yeah, so let's talk about it a little bit. You said you are joined a startup accelerator. Talk to us a little bit, like what, because a lot of my audience tend to be like people more in the beginning stages, from what I know, and like new to entrepreneurship and business. All right, so like, talk to us a little bit, like what was your thought process behind joining an accelerator? I mean, you have experience before building an app, right? I mean, it didn't go as planned, of course, but like you have some experience. You're not brand new to this, right? You're not new to this world of business. So, what was the thought process behind joining an accelerator? And for anyone listening out there, for example, for me, I didn't join an accelerator when I got into business. I kind of just jumped into it, right? But we also are in very different industries. You have an actual application that people can download and use, and stuff like that. Whereas I'm more of doing like a coaching slash consultative type of role. So like, what kind of business owners? would benefit from an accelerator, and what was your thought process going into it? Because a lot of times people try to do it yourself, right? A lot of entrepreneurs are just DIY, right? We try to figure it out our own, we solve all our own problems, we do it, we wear all the hats, and we just try to do it ourselves. So like, what led up to you making that decision and investing in yourself?
The first time I went into business, I did it myself.
Yeah.
I learned along the way and I made a lot of mistakes. And I found out that if you are going to be successful in business and a good idea was not enough, having the right people around you made a lot of difference. And I'm not talking about friends that cheer you on. I'm talking about individuals who have been through the process, raised money from venture capitalists and angel investors, or launched successful businesses and are actually making revenue.
Hmm.
This time, I wanted to do it differently. Being on the blocks helped a great deal, but the startup accelerator process is a lot more involved in that during that 14-week period we go through all stages of the business development process from the idea stage to the production stage, and it was a very hands-on program where you actually do the work yourself of creating the vision statement, working on the creatives, the landing pages, and even the product, refining all of that, doing the customer development to target the right audience, understand the market, who you're serving, why you're serving them. And it was a wonderful process. For anyone who is in a high growth market,
What does that mean? Break it down for us.
a high growth market is a market with potential to earn over $100 million in revenue. 200, we're talking of 300 million, 400, even up to unicorn status, because individuals who invest $500,000 in your business, or even $100,000 in your business, want to know that they can make 10 times that amount, 20 times, or 30 times. So if someone is going to invest $100,000 in you, they want to make a million or more. For that to happen, your business must demonstrate the potential to make a lot of money. And QSlot being in the SaaS space, the software as a service space, the potential is huge. And with the help of developing the business itself and then the mentorship that the program comes with, the chances are really higher, because through the 15-week program, I was able to engage with mentors, CEOs, CFOs, angels, and venture capitalists, really soak in from them, learn from them free of charge. These are
Mhm.
people whose time is very, very valuable. And on a weekly basis, I was meeting with three or four of them. And now, being that I'm a graduate of the program, I still have access to them, over 240 mentors. So it's a good place to be, knowing that I can venture in with the access to real positive and helpful feedback that will move me further along. And when I'm ready to raise money, I know where to go to. I build these relationships because no one wants to give you money without really knowing you,
Yeah.
not just your idea. They want to invest in you as a person. So communicating with the right people over time who have the money and have the knowledge positions you to get the money when you're ready.
Yeah, one of the things I remember from the blocks, because I know for me, the days that they talked about capital and equity and raising money, that was like the days where I performed the worst. And but one of the things that I remember Wes talking about in his presentation was like, people don't buy the horse; they buy the jockey. Right? People are buying the jockey. For anyone that doesn't know about horse racing, the jockey is the person riding the horse, right? It's not about how good your business is or how great the idea is. It's about who the person is that's running it. Because usually a business will grow to the extent that the person, right? Usually the person running the ship is the ceiling of the business. Now, some people in certain positions have really good opportunity to grow. And a lot of times I said people do business with people they like, know, and trust, right? And especially when it comes to giving out money, right? And not getting anything in return until, years later on in the future. There's a lot of trust that has to go into that, right? I give you
Absolutely.
$100,000 today, but let's say you're not expecting to sell for the next 10 years. That's a long time before I ever get my return back. And so, you have to make sure you have those good relationships. And so I'm curious too, like as you were going through the accelerator program, what are some of the lessons that you learned about business? Like what are some of the things that stuck out to you? Because as you said, you went through all the different stages. Usually people start a business it's like, okay, I got this idea, for example, like knowing doing hair, right? A lot of people were like, "Oh, I know how to do hair." I just started charging people, and that's the business, which is great to get the idea started. But there's a lot more steps that people don't know when they first get into business, when they first get into entrepreneurship. And I'm assuming that accelerator program helped shed light on a lot of that stuff. So, like, what were some of the things that really stuck out to you and made the most impact that probably won't like after like, probably wouldn't be so like so common sense. For example, you mentioned like getting clear on your customer, right? And your and the value you could provide on that target market, right? A lot of people just think like, hey, I just help as many people as I can, right? So like little things like that that aren't as what's the word I'm looking for? Is it common knowledge? I guess you could say common knowledge, but I forget the word is on the tip of my tongue and I can't remember. But you get what I'm trying to get at. So like, what were some of the things that
Yes,
stuck out to
yes.
you?
I would say the most impactful experience was with customer development. And you were part of that. I sent you the survey, right?
Yeah.
And I interviewed so many people, and I'm still doing so now. We are encouraged to do it constantly. Interview anyone you think who might use the product, and as you get an idea of who really wants it, you interview more of them.
Hmm.
And in the beginning, when I was building the product, when I had this great idea, I had my eyes and my focus on real estate uh,
Agents.
agents. I had my eyes on doctors, doctor offices, even lawyers, fitness trainers. And there is a market I didn't think about, the hair and beauty space. I didn't think
Hmm.
about barbers. And just a quick summary.
I think I mentioned
QSlot,
that. Did I mention barbers? I think I last time we talked, I talked about
you,
barbers potentially.
you
I
talked
want to
about
take credit.
barbers.
I'm taking credit.
Yes,
I'm taking credit. I
yes,
don't
I
care.
give you credit. I give you credit. You know, QSlot, the premise of QSlot is to replace no shows
Hmm.
by automating scheduling and rescheduling so that the client doesn't have to reschedule if they miss the appointment, and the business owner doesn't have to struggle to replace the client if they don't show up.
Hmm.
And I thought, well, doctor's offices definitely use this. And I thought about everything else. But once I started going through this business development and I interviewed so many people, the interest was there. They gave one exercise, and one of the exercises was go physically, talk to, have a 30-minute conversation with your target audience. And I decided to walk into a barber shop, my barber shop, where well, not I don't own the shop, but where I go to cut my hair. And I went to interview my barber. He wasn't there that day. And I had a conversation with the barber on the next side. And I said, okay, I'm developing this app. I have a few questions. What do you use for scheduling? How do you manage your schedules? How do you handle no shows? How do you replace the no shows? And I got interest from all the barbers that were present. And I asked them one thing. Do you use Calendly? They said, what's that?
Yeah, that's
I
not
said,
really for barbers.
they
Yeah.
didn't know Calendly. They didn't know Carl.com. All the applications that I had in mind
Yeah.
to even reference for my apps were not relevant to them. And one of the investors told me, well, you're going to have a hard time competing with Calendly. So on that day, I realized two things. One, barbers took a great interest. In fact, one of them offered to invest. He said, I love this. And then the second thing I realized that they gave me every single barber I spoke to gave me six, seven, 8 reasons why they would leave the application they were using. Whereas the others I spoke to that use Calendly, you included, if I say, why don't you use Calendly? Why don't you like Calendly? Or what don't you like about Calendly? You may give me one or maybe 2 reasons. So if I asked barbers what they don't like, each of them gave me 5, 6, 7 reasons why they didn't like the application they used. So I saw an opportunity. Not only could I serve them, I could convince them faster to switch to QSlot. So it was a very perfect entry point for me, knowing that I can start with barbers and then expand to other verticals. So
Mm-hmm.
for anyone starting a business, it is extremely important while you have this great idea, take time to interview everyone you think is a potential user. Ask them what they are using, how they are solving the problem they are solving, what it would take for them to switch to your application or your service. And you will learn a great deal of what you should be doing and where you should be putting your energy, because most of the times we are wrong about what we think the users want.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, um, and that's something that I feel like SaaS companies do really, really well. Is like they make an emphasis to focus on getting feedback from customers, like and talk to as many people as possible. Where a lot of people don't do that, and regardless of whether you're, as I said, doing someone's hair, right, or you're, a real estate agent, or you're just starting up an agency, or whatever the business industry is, we all need customers, right? Because we can't pay for our own services, right? That's not how business works. We need other people to give us money, and because we rely on other people to give us money, their feedback is super essential. But it's also a fine line too, right? So like, how do you know who's, what is good feedback? Is all feedback good feedback? Because sometimes a lot of people want to give you their opinions, and you want their opinions because you want to see what they have to say, but they might steer you in the wrong direction, right direction. So like, what's your process for going about getting, sifting through the feedback? Because on top of that, if you have a vision for how you want to build something, right, and people are telling you to do something entirely different, it could maybe be a point in the right direction. It could also maybe be, that no one has seen what you've done before, and so that they don't know, they can't value. For example, like Uber, no one has when Uber came out, no one has seen anything like Uber prior, right? It was the first of its kind, and so sometimes people won't know or understand what you're doing, and their feedback won't. It's hard sometimes because like when you're doing something and you're a unicorn, you're this company that you're treading waters that no one else has gone through. um, People can't understand and give you quote unquote good feedback. So like, I say all that to kind of say like, what is good feedback? How do you navigate through the feedback that you get so that you can stay true to the vision that you have in your mind as an entrepreneur, but also stay flexible so that you can build a product or service that people actually want to buy? Because you can go build something and not ask anybody and then not have any customers and then, try to convince people, or you could just build something that people want and then make money off of that, and people will buy forever because they told you they want it. But like, I mean, you also have this vision as an entrepreneur of like how you want things to be sometimes, so it could be tough when like you're trying to build this one thing and everyone's trying to change it or tell you to build something else. So like, what's your process through navigating feedback?
Yes. With feedback, what's important to me is the problem and the solution, not my solution, the customer's or the client's solution. So if I ask you what your problems are and how you're solving those problems, and I get feedback from multiple people, it now becomes valuable to me when I can see a pattern or a trend. And then I use that trend to refine my solution. That's the first step. The second step now is identifying with what I have done as a user or as a customer, and I can't get that perspective. So I have to come back to you who has the problem to say, am I solving your problem correctly? So that's the second step to the feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Am I solving it correctly? Am I doing something that you appreciate based on the problems you've had? So it's really good to maintain a pool of users to actually go through that journey with you, not just always randomly get more people, because you will get perspectives that may either distract you or not really serve you. So if you have a good group of people, individual, it doesn't have to be many, 15, 20, not your cousins or your friends, people who would be potential users. You start from what's the problem, what's the solution, how are they solving it, and then go now to, are you providing the solution correctly? What will make them pay money for it? What will prompt them to use it? So that's the direction of feedback you go. And you look for trends in that feedback. How many are saying the same thing? How many don't like the same thing? And you learn more about your competition that way as well. Who really is your competition? Your competition could be something the user is doing, not necessarily a business or a service. So once you ask that question and you can identify based on your vision where you want to go, where is what is relevant, just take away emotion out of it. Look at the data only, and that will save a lot.
Dope, dope. So to kind of fast forward a little bit, I think we've covered a lot of really good points. Um, Especially talking about like customer feedback and doing customer researching and surveying. You reached out to me and we had like a great conversation for like 30 minutes about like ideas and stuff like that. And so to fast forward a little bit, you said earlier in the conversation, 100 people started the accelerator and 21 finished, right? So after you finished that accelerator, where did your journey go from there? Because you went through all these different workshops and exercises, and you talked to all these different mentors and all these different venture capitalists and angel investors, all these different people that could potentially be a user and an investor to your company. Um, so where did the journey go from there?
Well, we just finished. We graduated on the 19th of November. So this is
No way.
brand
So
new.
this is only
Yes.
2 weeks ago from the time we're recording.
Yes, just 2 weeks ago. And the journey goes into work,
Yeah.
applying all that I have learned, and then relying on the mentors that are part of the program for constant feedback. I am still scheduling mentoring sessions with them. At least the number of those I'm scheduling is reducing as I'm identifying those who are most interested in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, some have interests that do not really align with what I'm doing. So I am working towards a small group of mentors who will be giving me that constant feedback and hold me accountable for what I'm doing. So it's about executing quickly because going through such programs is like going to college. When you go
Mhm.
to college and you have a degree, uh, then the expectation is get a job, and nobody minds if you don't have a job within the first 6 months or a year. But if you go for 3 years and you don't have a job, then the
Yeah.
problem is no longer the job market. The problem is you.
Yeah.
So going through this accelerator now, and I have to do the work to make the progress and show and demonstrate that yes, it is wanted, and two, I'm doing something about it, such that 1 year from now or 2 years from now, I don't get asked, how come you've not raised any money? Because if
Yeah.
in 3 years I'm still who I am, then there's a problem with me, not the idea. So within 6 months, I want to really strike while it's hot, use the network of resources available, not just the mentoring. There are discounts and offers, tools that will really help us in building this company, not just the product. So I want to tap in and hone in on all the resources available to me as a graduate of the program to move things forward to the next level, launch really hard, and grow really fast.
Yeah, and so for a company like this, right? Um, what does a launch look like? Because I've done launches for myself, right? I've done launches where my biggest launches usually I do a 4 day workshop, right? I charge, it's free. I get as many people to opt in as possible, and then from there I have a VIP upgrade, right? And then on the final day of the workshop, I sell something, and it's like, hey, this is only available for the rest of the week, and then I send out a bunch of email reminders and pretty much that's in a nutshell, my launch strategy, right? So like what would have you started thinking about your launch strategy? Like what's going into play right now as you're getting ready? Because I mentioned you said that pre-registration is now available and you're keeping it tight knit, a small access group to work out all the kinks right before you bring out to mass market. So what's your plan for launching? This episode won't be out for a little while, so you probably may have will probably be launched depending on when your plan is by the time this goes out. So what's the thought process? Because it'd be dope to see like kind of like behind the scenes of what's going on.
Yes, that's a good question. Launch wise, I'm thinking of growth, internal growth, starting with a small group of individuals that we're working with now to test the application, open it up to a wider audience, 50 users, 60 users, and then over a 3 month period, for example, just ramp up and try to get more users. In fact, starting today, as we speak, I plan to visit hair and beauty salons, just
Wow.
walking like I did before. And I want to sign up 50, at least 50 that way in my area. Just walk in, talk to them, show them their application, build that
Yeah.
connection with them, and get their feedback about the app, get their name, phone number, and email address, and put on my list. That's a lot different than actually signing them up online. So if I have a
Mhm.
good pool that I have connected with and know me, I can now use them as ambassadors or champions to get a few more.
Yeah.
And over a 3 month period, as they use the app and we grow, still it's in the free stage. From that, I will now plan the launch strategy, which will be similar to yours. Have a webinar, have an event, invite maybe a live demo of the application, and then
Mhm.
funnel them through to pay at a discounted rate, and boom, that'll be it. So that's the strategy. Start small, build that community engagement, and then use that to grow socially, and from that have an event. I'll probably come back to you when I'm planning that little
Mhm.
webinar type demo, and from that
Yeah.
just uh, create that pipeline to get them to pay the money for it.
Yeah. I mean, it'll definitely be a great conversation because right now, what I'm gonna work on, and I've been procrastinating to be completely transparent and dragging my feet on this, but getting into paid advertisements. So my plan right now is because I want to like right now my focus. I've been I do a lot, right? I know a lot about AI and marketing and stuff like that, content creation, and like there's like one on I have some like one-off one-on-one like clients, and then I have like courses that I sold in the past and little things like that, and then I have like a mastermind that I want to grow. And like a lot of people like kind of know that I talk about AI, but not a lot of people know how to actually work with me, right? And like it
Hmm.
hasn't been clear. I've been trying to focus on my offer. And so like right now I'm going all in on growing my mastermind. And so I'm gonna start running ads to it, start building up my mastermind. And once I get to a solid number, right, then I'm gonna start doing the webinars myself and just start doing a webinar a week and just funnel people into the mastermind. Just once a week, just funnel ads to the webinar. On the webinar, funnel people sell to the mastermind, and then rinse, wash, repeat over and over and over again like clockwork. Um, and just keep on doing that because I mean the play works, right? And I think it'll be really dope for you as well because ClickFunnels, the guy Russell Brunson that I follow, he has a SaaS company. That's how they grew ClickFunnels, right? And so those books I think we might have talked about it last time, but
Yes.
I would highly recommend looking into Russell Brunson, especially if you want to go like the more like start doing webinars and stuff like that and want
Yeah.
to do into that because that's how he pretty much blew up his company. And I think ClickFunnels just hit $1 billion in revenue generated over their lifetime or something like that. I'm not sure what their valuation is or anything like that, but he's the type of guy he bootstrapped everything. He didn't have any investors, anything like that. People were trying to figure out. I think he told a story. He was talking to some venture capitalist. He was like, "Oh, how much does it cost to acquire customers?" He was like, "Okay, yada yada," yada, and started doing numbers. Like, "Okay, if we give you this much money, you'll be able to acquire this many customers."
Hmm.
And he was like, "No, like, you guys don't understand. Like, if you have a funnel, you can get paid to acquire customers and then acquire customers infinitely, right?" And so like he pretty much bootstrapped his company from the ground up, from what I know. And I mean, ClickFunnels right now is one of the biggest like all-in-one online business platforms in the market. Like ClickFunnels, we have Kajabi, and like
Hmm.
Go High Level are like the big three. You can probably add maybe like Thinkific in there as
Think
well,
if
but
it.
like yeah, but like ClickFunnels pretty much like changed the whole online entrepreneur, online business owner, digital marketing space. Like that guy knows his stuff. He's legit.
Yeah, they do. They did a great job initially. Thinkific started with their niche going after course creators. The ClickFunnels did well with their open approach to serving really anybody who wanted to sell something, and
Yeah.
increasing revenue along the way. So I'm really looking on in that direction of engaging through
Yeah.
webinars on a weekly basis, not
Yeah.
once a month or once every 3 months, more or less weekly, and doesn't have to be long. 30 minutes is enough,
Yeah.
particularly if you're doing something live and you can engage on a more personal level. So I'm
Yeah.
looking to that as part of my strategy once I'm phasing into that paid section and that full blown out launch. But it's still going to be soft. I'm not going to do
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah.
media stuff. It's still going to be soft, but it will be hard with respect to my engagement level
Yeah.
socially.
No, 100%. So then let me ask you, right? So, yeah, so you graduated 2 weeks ago from that accelerator program, um, and now it's time, you said, to start going into hair salons and stuff like that. A lot of people, I feel like nowadays, want to be online for everything, right? And sometimes getting boots on the ground and just going into, a physical location, it can be very daunting at times. It can be very scary. 'Cause a lot of times, like, we have this product or this service or this business idea that is, like, for example, QSlot isn't finished. This isn't the final version. This is not even the first version. We're still in the beta phase, right? And so you're
Hmm.
kind of coming into here with this half cooked, half baked thing, and there's still a lot of room to work and grow. How do you get over that fear of, like, going into something with something that's not even done yet? Because a lot of people want to have their things be perfect before they start putting out to the world. Because, if there's mess ups, people will tell you. And sometimes it hurts when people say your baby's ugly. Some people might say, hey, like, this application sucks, or hey, I don't really like this and that. And it's hard to hear because we put so much as entrepreneurs, time, energy, effort, and thought into these businesses that we're creating. So, like, what's your advice for people that, may be scared or maybe, like, nervous or worried to, like, go into physical locations to talk to people about their business?
Yes, my advice to anyone who is scared or who is worried or apprehensive is simply that you are going to hear the no's. That is inevitable. Think about how many times you've said no to other people. You may not say no because you don't like the idea. You may say no because it's just not your thing. So you have to be convinced that the no you're hearing is not about you. The no you're hearing is about them. If you take it personal, you're not going to go far. Every no you hear is about the person on the other side. And if you can think that way, then you will actually be more interested in them saying no. Why did you say no? What will it take for that no to become a yes? It's no longer about you, it's about them. Where is your fear? Where is your doubt? Where is your worry? Where is your concern? And because they said no, that could actually be a good thing because you could learn a lot from that no than you learn from the yes. The yes could be a stupid yes. It could be you're cute, so I'll say yes to you. But that doesn't help you. So if you say, I have heard a no, tell me why it's a no. And you don't end at that no. You take some points from that no. You probably learn a lot more about what you should be doing from those who tell you no than those who tell you yes. So
Mm.
understand that those who tell you no are actually more important than those who tell you yes from a growth perspective because they help you push your idea along.
No, 100%, 100%. It's one of those things where it's like the answers we want are on the other side of the things we want to avoid, right? Because it's hard to go up to people and, to hear that, but, like, it's the where the most valuable information is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So no, I was gonna
All
say,
the
so, like,
blind spots.
yeah. So to go from there, so, like, what's going on in your day to day now as a SaaS founder? Like I said, you finished this accelerator program. You have all these ideas. Like, what are you working on now, day to day? It's been, what, almost 2 weeks since you graduated the program. So, like, what does a day in a life kind of look like for you now?
The first week was decompressing and trying to catch up with family. You know,
Yeah.
my wife and son have been neglected, for, I would say, for a very long period of time because I was
Yeah.
really cooped away. My development was also neglected because I wasn't available to developers to collaborate. So this week has been, actually last week was really back in the grind, communicating with the team and getting them back to a level or a baseline where we could move forward, and catching up with the family. And also, of course, my personal devotion with God had suffered during that period, so I have to slowly try and get that back. So now I want to get into a rhythm whereby I know, okay, at 5 in the morning, this is what I do. 6 in the morning, this is what I'm doing, and have some consistency to my day. So I know at 5 p.m., I'm going out to the barber shops to engage the barbers, and that will go till 6. At 6 p.m., doesn't matter who I'm talking to or who I am, I'm out of there. Then family time, prayer time, get that routine. I was completely out of a routine during those 14 weeks. So now I have to get back into that routine and then have specific targets over the next few weeks that I want to hit personally and also professionally with QSlot, the development of QSlot. So I have some near-term targets that I'm focusing on. You know, the busy season when it comes to family and personal time is Christmas. But for me, I see it as an opportunity to actually engage more with people as they go out.
Yeah. I mean, barbershops specifically this time of year, are going to be packed all month long. So you're going to have a lot of barbers that probably are going to need the scheduling tools and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this time of year,
absolutely.
everyone want to get a fresh cut. New Year's is coming up. Everyone wants to go out. Everyone go see family. Want to get dressed up and nice. This is a good time of year, especially for you, what you're doing with QSlot. I remember back in the day when I was younger, I used to sit in barbershops for like 3 hours waiting for a haircut. Right? Absolutely not. I'm never doing that ever again. Now, my
Yeah.
barber, he. I know you said locally, but once you're ready to start moving out, I'll see what if I can ask my barber to hop on it because he uses a scheduling platform. It's called Bookly. I think you may have heard of it, maybe.
Booksy. Booksy.
Booksy, something like that. Yeah. Um, and so I just use that. I hate randomness. Like I want to know what
Yeah.
time I'm getting there. I want to know what time I'm getting out. Right? Like I don't want to show up and be like, oh, he's busy. And it's like no. If I'm going at 1, that chair better be open because I set my appointment for 1. And
Mm-hmm.
like if not, I'm leaving. Right?
Exactly. Let,
And
let,
so
let him know about QSlot. He can sign up early and be an ambassador. We have some perks lined
yeah, the
up
only thing
for
you might
those.
need some translators. He's Dominican. He speaks
Oh, okay.
a little English, but like he is Dominican to the bone. Like he comes from born and
Nice.
raised in DR. Like he is
Mm-hmm.
super Dominican. So you might need a
A
translator or something. But
translator. Oh,
but
man.
yeah. But yeah. So I mean that's exciting though that you're finally getting back into the rhythm of things and you're looking forward to like um where can people find you? Where can people keep up with what you have going on? And if we can get a projection, ideally, when do you plan for QSlot to, really start going, out to the public? Just a projection, if you have one.
I have a projection for the first quarter of 2025. First quarter
Mm,
being January, February, March. I want to use the first quarter to have a full blown out beta launch where anybody can sign up and anyone can use it.
yeah,
Open it up to the public. And then I'm thinking of a third quarter uh, final launch for version 1 with no limits, no restrictions, and
yeah.
we'll see. All that as the Lord gives me the grace and permits, but I'm looking forward to a very, very exciting start to 2025.
Amen. And so, let me ask you this then: for when it comes to, oh damn, I just had a good question for you about launching to the public. Oh my goodness, it just slipped my mind. Uh, I'll take that as a sign to not ask that question. But
Perks
I'll
and
take this.
discounts. I have
No,
perks and discounts.
I wasn't gonna ask about this guy. I was gonna be about launching um to the public, but as I said, I'll take that as a sign. But yeah, so where can we keep up with you? Oh, newsletter. Do you have a newsletter that you're building?
I am building a newsletter. In fact, I'm building a newsletter for different audiences,
Yeah,
for the users, for partners and investors. And I want to do that once a month at least.
yeah. Because I was thinking like having a productivity newsletter, and it's all about like productivity, time management, and prioritization and stuff like that. And then have
Absolutely.
that be like a way to, because not everyone's gonna be ready to make a switch on the spot, right? Now everyone's gonna be like, oh, QSlot, okay, let me switch my whatever I'm using and get on it. Some people, as you know, you mean you already like it takes time to nurture, right, and build up, and that would be like a great way to nurture them. Like one of the things I've done is like, I mean, I've been sending out emails for a while now, but like, um, I've been taking my newsletter like seriously for like the
Hmm.
past like month or so, and like really taking the time. I'm just committing to once a week, Mondays at 9 a.m., right? Sending out a tip about AI marketing, or marketing, right?
It
Or
doesn't have to
marketing.
be. It doesn't have to be extensive. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
long.
Mine is under 3 minute read. That's what I try to keep it under. I try to keep it under a 3 minute read. Most of mine follow within like 2 minutes to 2 minute 30 seconds. Um, and so yeah, but that said, keep nurturing that audience for eventually when they're busy, when they're ready to convert into clients. Like for example, I just did my first ever Black Friday sale, and I didn't do like a discount or anything like that. I just created like a new little one time offer,
Hmm.
where I was creating content calendars for people, and then I had 14 people say yes, right?
Oh wow,
Um,
that's a significant
yeah,
number.
and so as I said, so newsletters, because as I said, you can build up that audience, build up that pool for that once it's ready to go live, just flood everybody and just like,
Absolutely, absolutely. I
yeah,
agree. Newsletters are good too to keep all the mentors in the loop of what I'm doing and how I'm progressing. So
that too. Yeah, people want to
yeah,
stay along for the ride, for the journey, right?
yeah. So when you come back, they don't look at you and say, "Where did you come from? You
Yeah, no,
disappeared."
100%. So, Heidi, man, I already asked you the famous 5 questions last time, so I won't ask them again. But as I said, where can we keep up with you? What's your website? What's your link for we can sign up for QSlot so we can join the pre-registration, or just keep up with what you have going on in the journey, and maybe hop on the newsletter once it's ready to go active.
Absolutely. QSlot.com will take you to QSlot, and that
And
is
spell it out for us.
QUEUSLOT, Q and slot.com will take you to the QSlot landing page. You can sign up, pre-register, and you can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm most active on LinkedIn and Facebook. So I'm the only Heine Nzumafo out there. So once you spell my name, you won't miss me.
Alrighty, Heidi, man, thank you so much for hopping on. I'm looking forward to all the amazing things you have going on, and just staying along for the journey, because it'd be dope, because it's like to see this all evolve from behind the scenes, because we were on the same show together and then hopped on the podcast. You talked about where you were before the accelerator and everything, and now the accelerator's over. So I can only imagine in the next 6 months, right, what's gonna happen and take place, and then soon you're gonna be raising money, and then it's like next thing you know, Heine's on top of the world.
Exactly right. Thanks to God.